All right, great. Um, so hi to everyone joining. It's another day and our third event as Lagos TUG. As usual, we are super excited to be here again and to have two amazing speakers with us alongside. So welcome. And today it's basically going to be about best practices in terms of dashboard performance and also talking about efficient container usage. And this is just a topic I'm sure like each speaker has prepared maybe way much more than we have on the screen like right now. Kenny, next slide. So yes, join us, be a part of the Tableau Data Family Lagos and Nigeria. We are dedicated to building a supportive and inclusive community for enthusiasts in Lagos, Nigeria at large, wherever you might be joining in and being a part of us. Our mission is to connect Tableau users of all skill levels from beginners to experts, foster an environment where we can share knowledge, network, and grow our visualization skills. We are committed to promoting data-driven decision making and showcasing the talent and innovation within the local Tableau community. You can definitely scan this barcode to be a member of the channel at CUG. So meet the Lagos CUG leaders. Omoke Inde Ayodeji, data analyst at Oaks Intelligence, myself, Bola at Magnet, Maureen, and Idris, which like both are like unavoidably absent today, but they're also part of the leaders of this CUG. Next slide. So meet Kehinde Ayodeji. She's a data analyst at Oaks Intelligence, focused on helping individuals enhance their skills and navigate their visualization journey. She is a passionate Tableau lover, recognition 3 times busy nominee for 2024, a member of Tableau Next 2024 cohorts, winner of Out of the Box Thinker award in a data DNS challenge, and been mentioned multiple times on the Tableau Weekly Data Farm blog that is usually released on Fridays. In her free time, she enjoys watching movies, excluding or understandably so, and finds relaxation through sightseeing. You can follow her on X as written there. And then next, myself, I am a data visualization developer at Magnet, been using Tableau for over 3 years for fun and work. I'm a Tableau Public Ambassador for 2023 and also 2024. I guess this slide is not updated yet. Sometimes winner of Visa's Biggest Growth and Notable Newbie, and 6 Views of the Day nominations on Tableau Public. I love watching Manchester City, although we didn't do well today. Going to the gym, whiskey, and Pinteresting, spending time on Pinterest. Um, Next, then meet Maureen Okonkwo. She's a Tableau consultant at Swifts Insights Consulting. She is a winner of Visa's Notable Newbie for last year and also has 3 views of denominations on Tableau Public. Outside work, she finds fun exploring new culinary adventures and traveling. And you can also follow her on X with the username. And finally, for the Lagos TUG leaders, meet Idris Akilakwa. Is a risk and compliance reporting professional at Flutterwave and specializes in Tableau, Power BI, and Ultrix. So, free time now, Tableau Public Ambassador for 2022, 3, and 4. 4 years of experience using Python, Excel, SQL, Ultrix, Tableau to do amazing stuff, and loves playing video games and binge watching Netflix in his free time. So, definitely follow him on X as well. So, no, meet the speakers. Yes, thank you. So meet Anastasia. I hope I got that correctly. I've been practicing for like 30 minutes before the call. Yeah,
Perfect. It's
she's
perfect.
yeah, she's a VI team lead at sorry, that was quick. Yeah, let me just jump into it. Meet Anastasia. She's a BI team lead at SEMrush and a data visualization specialist based in Dubai. Our focus area for the past few years has been Tableau, dashboards development and teaching data visualization and dashboard design. He is also the author of several data-related blogs with total audience of 20K plus subscribers. Should definitely check out her newsletter if you've not been subscribed, because I personally am subscribed. She shares amazing stuff, highlights amazing visualizations, not just in Tableau, but data wrapper, like, the entire visualization field as a whole. Outside of visualization, she enjoys Formula One, traveling, and going to the gym. And that's the link to the news letter. And if you go to our LinkedIn page, you can easily subscribe as well from there. And then also we have with us Ojoswi Basu, Data 2 Visuals founder, is a seasoned fractional chief data officer, strong background in leading data analytics and reporting initiatives. He's been in the software consulting space for a long time, specializing in tools and technologies like Tableau, Power BI, enterprise data warehouse, and cybersecurity. He's been a dedicated member of the Tableau data farm since 2013 and co-led the Toronto Tableau user group from 2017 to 2021. I'm quite familiar with its UG and how it works and the goals and missions. His passion for visualization analytics is exemplified for that race projects, data to visuals, where he also serves as a coach and mentor. In his free time, he enjoys cooking and photography. So that's lovely. And yeah, we had there is a page for ground rules. I think Kenny skipped that maybe a little bit.
Okay, so let me
Yeah, we could.
go back there. Yeah.
Yes, so meeting ground rules, 3, interact, say hello and interact with the rest of the audience in the chat section. You tip at the bottom part of your screen, ask questions, submit your questions in the Q&A section. There is a Q&A section also at the bottom part of the screen. Selected questions will be answered live at the end of the speaker session. So whatever questions you have, just put it in there, and then we'll try to ask the speaker. And most importantly, learn and have fun. Our meetings are recorded, and you will definitely find them after on the Lagos to UG YouTube channel. And also, if you RSVP'd for the event, you would definitely get it through your mail. So just be with us, pay attention, ask questions, chat, and try to have a great time. So first would be starting with Anastasia, and she would be talking about dashboard design and efficient container usage in Tableau. So Ken, you can stop sharing, and Anna, you have the stage.
Yeah, thank you so much for such a warm presentation. Yeah, now I can share it. All right, let's start. So, hi everyone, my name is Anastasiya. That's me, just a little bit of introduction, but probably you already saw like from the previous parts who I am. Yeah, I mean, I've been loving like data visualization Tableau for a long time, and this is a thing I really enjoy, and that's why I actually like love talking about it. So today I'm going to talk about dashboard containers and dashboard design, and I do hope that at the end of the session you're going to fall in love with dashboard containers as much, and you're going to love them as much as I do, because they can be tricky, they can be like a complex thing to learn, but in reality they're going to save up lots of time for you in the future. So definitely containers are the best practices for dashboard design. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the theory of like basic rules for dashboard design, and then we're going to go through practice. So this we're just going to like recreate a structure of containers for the dashboard, the usual structure you can use for, just for your dashboards. So let's start with some theoretical basics for how to design dashboards, how to place elements on the dashboards and things like that. The one thing we always take into account while designing a dashboard are scanning patterns. So this is actually how people look at the web, how people look at your dashboards, the way they move their eyes, the way they like track information on the dashboard and things like that. And talking about like scanning patterns, they're usually like a little bit more scanning patterns when I'm going to present today, but this is just like usually the main ones. One of the most important pattern is F pattern. You probably heard about it like lots of times, and it is important. So it is important to talk about it. It is important to highlight it once again. F pattern is the way we look at the data, not at the data, we look at the dashboard, we look at the like web pages, newspapers, anything actually, like any, like layouts, any picture we are looking at, they usually go through the F pattern. So what is it called F pattern? Because we go like an F letter from the top level, from the top left corner to slowly to like the bottom right corner. So it kind of looks like an F. That is why if you just go to Google, usually the most expensive advertising is on like that part, and like the most expensive spots for advertising usually on that part, because people see these parts first, and it's actually like something very important is usually placed in that part. When we're talking about dashboard design, we can use F pattern for placing the most important information and placing the most important charts. Usually it's like KPI cards or things like that. We should place them on the top left corner. So if you want your users to immediately see something, immediately take a look, like take a glance over on the dashboard and realize something, place it on the top left corner. Also, another thing to consider while designing with like F pattern is level of detail. So level of detail of your dashboard should go from the top left corner to bottom right, from like the most aggregated information to like more details when you go lower to the right bottom. This is actually like this screenshot of the dashboard is from the real study, which was done by Tableau about like eye tracking techniques, how usually users actually look at the dashboards, and you can see like these bright spots, and they actually look like F, something very similar. The only thing which is not like which doesn't go F pattern here is like that chart, and here we're gonna go with a spotted pattern. Spotted pattern is a pattern when we look at the like dashboards or look at the like web interface, and they're fixating on some specific words or some specific chunks of information which usually visually stand out. So this can be like even like headers or subheaders, but most of the time when we're talking about dashboard design, this is some kind of elements which are like very high contrast elements, some big charts, very bright charts and something like that. So whenever you design a dashboard, you should take into account that all kinds of bright charts, like area charts, tree maps, all kinds of maps, in case you're adding something, like images or something like that, they're going to draw viewers' focus and they're going to draw viewers' attention to that part. So in case they're not that important, in case users should look at them like at the end or something like that, try to add a little bit of opacity to them, try to decrease the size of these charts. And this is just something to keep in mind when you're designing a dashboard. If you're going to have a bright element, viewers' eyes are definitely going to be focused on that. So if it's not your goal, try to reorganize your dashboard, try to maybe change the chart type, or like the usual and the simplest rule would be just to add just a little bit of opacity to this chart. Another scanning pattern is layer cake, and this is the one which is going to help you with visual hierarchy of your dashboard. So again, we're like fixating our eyes and fixating our focus on page headings and subheadings. So whenever you read a newspaper, or like usually newspaper, you're definitely going to see like this is the header, this is the subtitle. You know how to look at this newspaper, and you know how to go with the flow, with like the reading flow of this newspaper. The same should go with the dashboard. So I really like these kind of pictures because it always goes with the same like pattern which is presented here. You definitely read this first, you're definitely going to read this part second, and you're definitely going to read this part for the last time. So again, when we're talking about dashboards and when talking about dashboard design, please don't forget to create this visual hierarchy in your headings and subheadings. So usually I just prefer to make like the header size is going to be 22, 24, something like that. Block title sizes is going to be like 14, 18, chart titles from 12 to 14, and just basic text is going to be from 9 to 10. The same would go to like visual hierarchy of like KPI cards or like our smaller elements of the dashboard. So these things are important, and they actually help users to navigate through all the information you have on the dashboard and understand what parts of the dashboard they really need. So there is also like a small, like visual explanation of how these patterns work. Another thing to keep in mind is Gestalt principles. I'm not going to talk about all of them here. Again, I have a link about like full description of what they are, but probably like these 3 rules should be definitely remembered when you're designing dashboard. The first one is proximity, and so whenever you create dashboards, where like if you want people to think that these elements are connected to each other, place them closer to each other. And containers actually help you to do that. So again, you should always like put like the title of your chart and the chart itself in the same container. So we're going to be like easily like navigated through each other and like dragged and dropped to other parts of the dashboard. And we should definitely like look at the things like, like filters and parameters should be always positioned closer to charts they're related to, or like legends should be close to the charts they're related to. So the things like that, they create like a visual guidance for users, how to, like distinguish different elements on the dashboard, and just to make sure that users understand what parts of the dashboard are about. Similarity rule is about that objects sharing the same color, shape, and size are perceived as related or part of the same group. So again, it's more about design rather than just like container structure, something like that. But definitely use color to group or highlight some similar characteristics, or redirect the audience attention to some kind of elements which you consider important. So for example, it can work greatly with like alerting, with some highlighting some important information on the dashboard, and again about like legends and color coding of the dashboard. And closure is one of the principles which is actually closer to dashboard containers and the container structure, because this principle suggests that objects enclosed within the defined area belong to like a group, are related somehow. So in that case, if we place our elements, our dashboard elements in the container, we can easily work with it as a group. So we can like group connected charts with the same background, or group them with some kind of like border, something like that. So this is one of the principles which actually presented greatly in containers. Grid layout. So whenever you design a dashboard, we should always think about the structure of how our elements is going to be placed. So one of the things to consider here is grid layout. If you go to any kind of website, any kind of newspaper, you'll see that grid layout is used everywhere. So we're just like placing most of it, they're like creating, like a grid, something like that. And we place our elements into these grids. There are different grid structures which can be used, but most of the time we usually have like a header. We might have some kind of navigation block here, and we also have charts. So this kind of grid layouts, this kind of grid structure actually creates some kind of like symmetric design, and it just makes your dashboard easily to read, and things like that. One thing to remember about grid layout is not forgetting like margins. And this is a thing presented in paddings in Tableau, and we're going to talk about it today as well. So whenever you create a dashboard in Tableau, there are 3 ways to do it. So the first thing I want to talk about is dashboard sizes. Here you can select the dashboard size you want to use, and probably like the easiest way to go, especially if you're just starting to work with Tableau, would be to go with a fixed size. A fixed size is always the safest option, because your dashboard size is going to stay exactly the same as you set it up here. So you see, like I'm just like decreasing the size, and just like the scrolling emerges here. So it's a very safe option. If you just start again with Tableau, fixed would be the best way to go. The best size would be probably like something like that, so it would be easier to read on small laptops as well. Range size is like a more advanced version, which is something in between fixed and sorry, and between fixed and automatic. So in range size, you can select like the minimum size and the maximum size. So in that case, your dashboard will adjust within this like range of sizes. it can be a good way to create like a more adaptive version of your dashboard in case you know that your users are going to be using as small sizes as well as big ones. So we're going to need a minute. I've been talking for a long time today, so yeah, I need a little bit of water.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about
That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, and automatic. Automatic is probably the most unpredicted option. So I definitely want to recommend using it because it actually going to adapt for every screen size, and it can be very unreliable. So you'll never know how your dashboards are going, how your elements are going to be reorganized due to that. So I'll try not to use it. So we'll just go back to the fixed one. Another thing to consider are the tiled versus floating. So tiled layout creates some kind of like tiles inside, and this is a thing which should be better utilized with containers. And we're going to talk about like them just in a minute. The floating layout can be an interesting way to go if you're not really like need the clean structure and you're just like creating a one-time dashboard. It can be like a safe way to go. But the problem with floating layouts that in case you want to like change something, you'll have to reorganize the overall structure of it. So it might be a little bit time consuming comparing to container structure at the end of the day. So I'll just say no floating containers, especially if you're designing for like business dashboards. So how are we going to work with like container structure? So whenever you create a dashboard, always start with a vertical container. So vertical containers allows you to place elements on top of one another. So you're just, like a layer cake. You're like using vertical containers to put things in it like this. So vertical containers are usually the first one to start with. So whenever you create a dashboard, you can just put a vertical container here. And don't forget to double check the layout structure right here. So you'll see in Tableau tiled containers a lot. So tiled containers are created by Tableau automatically, and they're like combining features of vertical containers and horizontal ones. And one problem of using these kind of containers that if I'll just, like start putting things randomly here. These tiled containers are gonna like create automatically. Yeah, it's not creating right now. just believe me on that one. So tiled containers can be like a real pain because you can't like fix sizes in them. You can't do anything in them. So it's better just to always start with the vertical container here. At the end of the day, you can actually like even delete this tiled container. It's not gonna like change anything. So the overall structure usually, again, like go with a vertical container. And one of the hacks you can use while learning dashboard containers is that you can apply borders to them. So for example, you can set up for vertical containers, you're going to set up like some kind of color, and you'll see that this is like a vertical container. The next thing to go is like, what's the next thing in the dashboard is like dashboard header. Dashboard header should definitely be used with horizontal container. So we'll just put horizontal container on top of it. And again, we can add some kind of border, like a green border. And now you'll see that this is like a horizontal container in the overall structure. And now you can put up like header. And since it's a horizontal container, you're also going to have like some space for like filters, parameters, some information buttons, some kind of like any additional information that can be useful to be added in the header. Another trick with containers is that you can rename them. And good thing here would be just rename the part of the container so you'll definitely know what this is the container block. And so after that, all the container structure is going to be dependent on your dashboard structure. And that is why every time you're like creating a dashboard, start with a prototype and start with a like prototype on how all of your elements are going to be like presented, how it's going to look like. So here I have one of my dashboards, and you can see that we have like all the orange containers are vertical ones, all the green containers are horizontal ones. So again, we are always starting with the vertical container, then we put horizontal one inside, and then depend on the structure. So for example, for this KPI card, which consists of 2 charts, I'm using vertical container. For the list of KPI cards, I'm using horizontal container. You see, like that's a green one. So prototyping before actually creating a dashboard can save you lots of time, because you can think about the container structure before that, and you can actually like draw it on a mirror board in Figma, or like even on like a piece of paper or somewhere else. So you can understand better like how all of your elements are going to be organized, what kind of container structure you're going to need at the end of the day. And of course, once you like master containers, you can definitely, you should remove all these kind of borders, because we like don't need them in these kind of designs and things like that. So one of the things again about like containers, that inside horizontal containers, we can fix the width of our elements. So when we put something in the horizontal container, so we can, for example, like fix the width of our header to something we need, and inside vertical containers, we can fix the height of it. So for the header, it can be something like that. Fixating the sizes can help you a lot in, again, like understanding and making sure that your elements are going to stay on the places you put them, and they're going to stay the same size as you like asked Tableau to put them. So again, inside horizontal containers, we can fix the width. Inside the vertical containers, we can fix the height of all of it. Another thing which you can like which you can use with fixating all these kind of things. In case you're using, for example, like let's put horizontal container, and let's imagine that I'm going to have like KPI 1, I'm going to have KPI 2, and I'm going to have KPI 3. So whenever you're like placing an element, make sure to put it inside the container. So one of the tricks here is, in case you have like similar objects, so you want them to stay and have the same amount of size for each of them, there's one trick in Tableau which is called distribute content evenly, and in that case, all of my KPIs are going to have the same size every time I do something with it. So it can be a very good way to make sure that sizes for elements are going to stay the same. And if your dashboard design has some kind of elements which are like important, one of them is very important as our ones, you can use this trick to distribute these elements inside the dashboard. And you can always combine them. So in case I'm going to have like this KPI list, and then I'm going to have another one. Let me color them so you see. So I have like these KPI cards. I'm going to have like another set of KPI cards. I can distribute them evenly in the vertical container as well. So I'm going to put something inside the vertical container, put something as well here. Oh, yeah, in case you can put the needed thing inside the container, one of the things I usually do is I just start increasing the size of it, and again, like applying some coloring. So again, I'm going to take this vertical container, I'm going to make a border for it, I'm going to put a blank container inside, and I'm going to put the KPI cards inside. So yeah, what I was talking about, that you can distribute content evenly here as well, and then depending on the size, it's always going to take the same space. Another small trick I use a lot is that you can always look at the item hierarchy here. So in case you're not sure where did you put some of your elements, you can always go through the hierarchy here. The problem with this thing that if you just go here, it's usually it's usually like closed. The hierarchy is not like opened for you. And in case you want to quickly understand where your like part of your elements are located, you should just open them for a bit, like that, and then you're going to be clicking on that, and they're going to be highlighted in this item hierarchy. So it's going to be like a very easy to use thing right here. Another thing about containers is that you can select parent containers just by double clicking this thing here. So you just click on the element, you'll see this like, I don't know, like a ruler or something. You double click on it and you're gonna select like a parent container. You double click again, another parent container, and you can go like that through the hierarchy. So it's gonna be very easy to, like put elements inside the dashboard and just reorganize it in case this is something you're gonna need. Yeah, what else? Yeah, I already told about like naming your containers. Probably one more thing is, whenever you create a container structure, unfortunately, you can't just create containers and that's it. You have to fill something inside. You have to put something inside this container. Otherwise, Tableau usually, like, it eats containers. So if you're gonna like put horizontal inside the vertical one, they're gonna merge and create just the vertical one. So whenever you like creating a dashboard structure and you're creating this container structure, put your vertical container and then put some blank elements inside. In that case, it's gonna stay in your item hierarchy. It's not gonna get lost. Or you can use not blank elements, but text elements, and you can call them somehow. Like this is gonna be, I don't know, like I'm going to put a map here. In that case, you'll be able to see the container structure even before you have some real chart inside it. Yeah. Another thing, and I'm going to show it on the example of like this dashboard, is utilizing paddings. So one of the things which helps you with the grid layout and like organizing elements are like these small paddings we have here. It helps you to ensure the rule of proximity and the rule of enclosure. So it would be easier to understand like what parts of the dashboard are connected and what parts are not. So as you can see here, yeah, again, like if I open it, I'm gonna see where it's located. I have a vertical container right here, and I have paddings right here. So we need like outer paddings to make sure that elements are not like too close to each other. So outer paddings are important. I usually put from 4 to 8 or something like that. And inner paddings make sure that your elements are not too close to the borders of the container. So again, you see if I put it 0, they're too close to the background, so they're too close to the background, they're too close to borders. They're like, like gluing to the wrong parts here. So inner paddings are also very important. Regarding colors in general, to recreate this kind of structure, you can just select a different dashboard color. Yeah, always try to make something very, very, like light, not too bright, not to refocus users' attention from the main information. And I just really like to put some color to like background color to my containers right here. I usually select like a white one. I think it's the safest way to go, and creates you and helps you with like a cleaner design and cleaner layout, because it just looks like an interface, like a real one. A couple of more things I probably wanted to tell you about is newly created control visibility things. I'm not going to talk a lot about them because I actually have like 5 minutes left, but still I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about it. So from
You still have about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. Great, thank you. So yeah, one of the things which will help you a lot with like, again, like creating a better design for your dashboard is this control visibility thing. I think it was implemented in Tableau in 2022 or 2023 version, something like that. So in that case, you can set up some specific parameter to show or hide some parts your chart. So you can use parameters for that or calculations here. Again, in case somebody's going to need more information about it, I think there was a talk about it on Tableau Buddy Group or something like that. I mean, lots of information about it. So if you need some help here finding it, just let me know. I'll share a couple of links. Yeah, so you can set up like a parameter here to show or not show some elements. And if you have your elements inside the container, you can set up this like control visibility thing to a whole container. So you can either hide some information or like expand it. It can be also very useful if you have like a set of filters and you don't want them to always be visible. You want them to like be shown only when user asks it to do so. So it can be again like a nice way to hide it and then show it again. Another way to show and hide things is that thing. I'm going to talk about it right now. So in case you have some kind of like information buttons or again some like filter buttons, you can also show and hide them. So how do I usually do that? I usually set up a separate container for it. I'm going to call it like a vertical one. I'm going to make a background or like border for it. So you'll see. What is it? Let's imagine this is like for filters or like parameters block or like settings or something else, you know, like something which should not be always visible, but visible only from time to time. So again, don't forget about like inner paddings. Outside paddings are not going to be needed here, but I mean, you can add them anyway. And actually inside tile dashboards, you can also have some floating elements. So here I can select and change it to floating. And it will create this kind of like floating container, which you can use for your settings, for your filters, even for dashboard documentation or something like that. And for this floating container, you can also add this show hide button. It's going to be added as a floating one as well. So, I mean, we don't want it to be floating, we want it to be tiled. So I'm going to unclick here and put it right here. So delete this one. And now, if you're using Mac, you'll have to click on Option. If you're using Windows, I think it's Alt or any other, but yeah, I think it's Alt, Alt button. So you can close it and open it and like put some information inside it, put some kind of settings inside. And also, since it's a button, it's a usual button, you can always change the style of this button. You can like, where do I have it? Yeah, I think I have some kind of shapes here. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I think that will be good. So you can put some kind of like filters button or something looking like filters or something like that. Or in case it's like a container which gonna have information about like dashboard documentation or something like that, you can put up like information button like I have right here. So yeah, this is just like a couple of things I've been using a lot, and I know with containers like a complex thing which you usually like master for a long time, and you hate them first. You usually hate them when you start working with them, because it's always, I mean, you can't like put something inside the containers, it usually get lost and like etc. etc. So just take your time, be patient with this journey, because it's definitely going to be like, it's going to take some time. It's going to also take lots of practice, especially with working with like nested containers, when you have like horizontal, vertical, everything inside vertical, you have another horizontal, etc., etc. So when you have like a nested structure, it can be complex, but at the end of the day, it's going to speed up your work, especially designing dashboards like to a new level. And just one of the things which might help you while designing a dashboard is using dashboard templates. I recently created like an open dashboard template which you can use, but you can definitely create one for yourself as well. So one of the things which help you with this kind of dashboards, with this kind of templates, that you can just download this template, you can create your own charts, and then you can just put it inside the structure which was already recreated. So you don't have to recreate the container structure every time you're designing a dashboard. You're just reusing something you created once, and yeah, you just don't spending your time on like recreating all that kind of things, and you can just put all your charts inside these pre-built blocks. And also, I think starting from 2022 version, you can copy this kind of blocks. So in case you don't have anything inside the block, this kind of like containers block, you can always just say command V, and it's going to be created as a floating container right here. So in case you need to adapt your current structure, you can just copy paste it, make it not floating, and put it to the needed part. The only problem with it is that when you copy paste containers in that way, they usually lose padding structure. So auto padding structure. So we have to fix it. Other than that, these kind of things actually like helps you to build the dashboards very much faster, and you don't have to worry every time about your dashboard structure. You just create a template once, and you like reuse it many hour times. I even reuse it for some of my usual work. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I hope it was in time.
Yeah. Yes. That was great. We have a few questions for you. I
Sure.
think Israel would be reading the questions out, so we could answer in the next 3 to 4 minutes for as many as we can cover. Yeah, Israel, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Anastasia. We have some couple of questions in our Q&A. So I'm going to be reading out some of those questions here. So this one is from Basu. It said, is there the F pattern also true for Arab folks who are using right to left?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I get this question like a lot. The same goes to Jewish people because it's also the same, and it's actually not true. I mean, they do read from like right to left, and usually designers, while designing dashboards for like Arab people, they're like recreating this pattern in like they're mirroring it, so it's going from the top right. But in reality, most of the companies and most of the Arab people, they know how to read in English, and it's actually your brain switches very easily. So it kind of depends on the organization, kind of depends on the company. And I was talking to some of the guys who were designing dashboards for Arab people, and some of them I designed them like the same they do for left to right reading people, and some of the charts, some of the elements were like recreated in a mirroring way. So yeah, I hope it answers the question.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I have one from Soban. He said, when I was using containers in Tableau, it used to automatically convert to tiled. So how do I make sure it doesn't happen in default?
Could you please repeat the last part? It automatically does what?
Okay, so it automatically converts it to tiled container, right?
Yeah.
How to make sure it doesn't happen in default.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, tile containers were like created automatically just out of nowhere usually, and I mean you can just select tile container, put it somewhere. It's just Tableau creates them by design. So how to avoid it is just to make sure that you put your like elements inside the container you created. So you don't just drag and drop it anywhere else. Just try to be precise, and in that way container borders can help you. So when you see the border of your container, you just make sure to put it precisely inside it. Yeah, and just like practice makes perfect. That's probably the only solution here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Israel. Thank you, Anna. So you could just check the Q&A to answer some of the questions that are still there because of time. If that
Yeah,
works
sure.
for you,
I'll
you could
do that.
just
Thank you so much.
reply. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was really, really insightful.
Thank
So
you.
now we have Ojo, and we would be discussing best practices, and you could try to share your screen if you can, so we can get along.
Is
All
it
right.
visible?
Yes, looks great. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my work today. It's going to be mostly reading out of the slide, and to better explain the concepts, I would be switching back and forth between Tableau desktop and showing what I mean, because words can be a lot. Thank you again for making time from your lovely weekend to dial into this Tableau user group. I feel this is a very important topic for everyone, no matter where they are in their data visualization journey. Tableau performance has been one of the top asks in the community, and most of us have spoken about it, but it cannot be shared enough. So here we go. I've broken it down into data connection, filters, calculated fields, and what have you. So let's jump in. The first thing is getting your data, sourcing your data. And Tableau, in the modern version, if you have, I highly encourage you to download the latest version or on the cloud. There is a concept of logical relationships. It's the most impactful and the most powerful. I encourage everyone to utilize the Hyper Engine and use relationships, the logical relationships over joins. And definitely stay away from blending. In the past, when we didn't have relationships, we would have to join. But there are definite benefits of using relationships over joins. And here is the example. I have a data source here. It's the Superstore data set. If I do look into my data source and I want to talk about relationships in a bit, these noodles that you see are the relationships that I'm talking about. We have the orders table, the people table, and the returns table. And also in the data set, I have a separate data source. It's just a calendar table that has date, the month, week, and the year. There are two ways I could work with this. One is using a blend, and it's as easy as bringing the date field into the realm of things. And then on the secondary data source, we have the order date. If I really wanted to create a relationship, all I would do quickly is to change this to a date. You see the link over here. I don't know whether it's very visible, but there is a link, which is the new way of showing users that we can use it for blending the data. If I try to bring it in, it will fail. There's a red, and if I hover over it, it will give me a reason that data sources that contain logical tables cannot be used as secondary data source for data blending. If you come across such a situation, you might want to go back to your data source and take away the logical reasoning. If at all you have to use blends, this is just for academic purposes. In real world, I highly encourage you to stay away from blending. But here, right click and remove those logical tables. So we have one data source, the Superstore, and the other is the calendar. And now we can go back to our happy ways of creating that blend. Blends are slow, but now it's working. This is an example of data densification, where I have the calendar table and Superstore with missing dates. Everything that's missing on the second column, that's a null, doesn't have any entry for any interaction or any data for that. But this is beside the point. Stay away from blending. If there is anything to take away from the discussion so far, blending something that we want to stay away from. Okay, let's march ahead and look at bring the tables and create a relationship. We talked about relationship, hide unused fields. We'll come back to that later. Make an extract of the data. Do you know what that means? As you can see, one of my data sources, the one daily dates, it's a single cylinder, which means that it's a live connection. What does a live mean? For most of you may know, but for those who don't, when your Tableau is connecting to your data source in real time, and every time you make a query or a change, or you interact with a filter, it fires a query over the internet, over the connection, and it returns back with the result set. That's a live connection. And when you see two cylinders beside your data source, it means it's an extract. Extracts are faster because it brings it into the hyper engine, the data, and it caches the data into the Tableau. So the data is closest to your visualization, and everything is that much faster. I have had great success with using extracts over live, and I do not see any reason why there should be a live connection. Of course, if you're, and business intelligence is mostly an analysis of what happened in near real time. So I highly encourage you to use extracts over live connections. So we talked about leveraging the power of HyperEngine. We talked about relationships. We talked about how to make an extract. Did I just show how to make an extract? If I wanted to make an extract of this live data, there is a radio button on your data source tab. Hit on extract, and then it will then ask for where you want to dump it. I'm just going to save, but now it creates an extract of the data and makes it local to your system. And when you go ahead and publish it to public, you have to have your data as an extract, because then it becomes a part of your Tableau workbook. I'm digressing from the topic, but if you now, there is an option to also publish this data source to server, publish to server. Here, the data source is published separately outside the Twibix or the Tableau workbook onto your Tableau server, and it's called a published data source. But either of the two should be fine, depending on the use case you have and your organizational setup. Let's go back to the presentation deck. Next slide. Use the extract data source filter to bring on the relevant. Okay, so what this point is trying to allude at is, do not bring everything into your data set if you don't need it. For here, let's assume we are using Superstore dataset or something like that, and your business users only care for this year, the current year, and the previous year, but your data set has 10 years of data. Here, let's look at this example. I have at least 10,000 plus rows of data in my data set. That's because I have how many years of data? Count distinct of years I should be doing. But probably let's look at how I can slice that and reduce it at the very get-go so that I don't overburden my Tableau with shit tons of data that oops, I said the S word. But we don't want to bring everything into Tableau. And the quick way of doing it is edit data source filter by right-clicking on your data source and add, as in our example, order date, when I can find that. I cannot, because it's called date now. Great. I go in here and I say, I don't care for all of the data. I just need the latest 2 years. So 2024 and 2023, I choose that, hit OK. And now at the very extract level, at the very data source level, my data has been sliced and I'm bringing a much smaller, the count of orders went from being above 10,000 to 6,000. And you could do that in real world scenario by keeping your data relevant to what you need. Reduce the number of quick filters. Replace high cardinality, multiple value dropdown. I will show what I mean. And then use apply. So all of these three things are related to filters. For those who know, fantastic. For those who don't, let's look at this example. This is a very deep data source. It has 6,000 rows of data, and 4 columns. So it has 24,000 marks. It's a bad example of a tabular data set with intense, deep, and wide marks. This I intentionally built so that I can show and demonstrate from here. But what I mean by quick filters is if I were to click region and say show filter, right click on segment and say show filter, category, right click and say show filter, ship mode, right click and say show filter. All these 4 boxes that have shown up on the right and these pills on the filters, these are the quick filters. And the less we use them, the better. The worst offender, and this is what I mean, so this we understand are quick filters. The worst offender would be to have a quick filter on a string type high cardinality field. And a high cardinality field means here each of these filters have 4 elements. Category has 3 elements, segment 3, region 4. These are low cardinality because the unique number of elements in these quick filters are 3 or 4 or 5. But if I were to make a quick filter out of our order date, order ID, show filter, it's going to be a very deep, high cardinal filter. And Tableau has the intelligence of stopping you from doing that and making it into a type, like a multiple values type in quick filter. But I can force it to be, let's hope it doesn't crash, multiple value drop down. And this is the absolute worst that we can do. Because what it's going to do now, although it's on an extract, it's going to try, and every time we make a change here, it's trying to run a query and return the result set. If this was live, I would have definitely seen a spinning wheel, and that's a bad experience for your users. So all I'm saying is my recommendation is stay away from a high cardinality drop-down quick filter. If I do have to use, absolutely must, that my clients need to put in some kind of an order ID or an employee number in, say, 50,000 or 60,000 rows of unique employees, the closest, I wouldn't frown at this, would be to use the apply button. It's under the customize option. So here on the right ticker, when you click customize and say show apply button, what it will do behind the scenes is it's going to add an apply button over here. So now if I click on something, it doesn't immediately take action. So let's do this one more time. There's this apply button, and I know I need 2024. So it's going to now return everything that starts with the 2024, and I know some of that is my interest in these 2 IDs. I click on them and then I hit apply. At least now it's not an insult to injury because you're finding what you're looking for and then hit the apply. But if you can, absolutely avoid a high cardinal quick filter. Fantastic. I hope this is making sense. We will take questions towards the end. There's a lot of content I wish to go through, and this is important. Date range filters could be aggregated at the month-year level on a deep data set. So think about it. If you have 10 years of data set, 10 years, every day something happened. In no way are you going to be looking at 10 years at the most granular level. Here is an example. I have in this dashboard, what I did, this trend, I'm using Superstore. It's now using 2 years of data, and every data point is a month in that trend. So I have gone from using a deep tabular data, which is hard to read, to a visual representation of the data and aggregated the date to a higher level. Now imagine this is just 2 years. Imagine you have 10 years of data. Now, obviously, that would mean it would be every month, 12 times 10 is 120 data points on your trend chart, which is also overwhelming, maybe for a few of us. Then it would make sense that instead of going at a monthly granularity, I choose to go at a quarterly granularity. That reduces it from being a 120 marks to 10 years, 4 times 40 marks. So these are some of the subtle nuances that are worth thinking about. Okay, date range filters, we talked about that. We can use, instead of using a date range filter, like so, instead of having this in our filter, range of dates, we can also use this chart to be our friend. As in, we can use actions and action filters, and we are going to get to that. Quick filters with only relevant values, use with caution. Okay, this is a great one. Let's go back to the tabular details example. If I were to click on this ticker and say only relevant values, what it means is now Tableau is going to do this as a nested query. The WizQL is going to fire a nested query, which is going to look up the data set that is getting returned when I select, say, only the consumers in my segment. You see, as soon as I did only relevant values and I removed all of the segments from here, my region went blank. And this is because I chose it to be only relevant values. If I did all values in data set, it would show up. So this goes in to show how my region is now a subquery to my segment query. I propose you use this with caution, because we don't want to fire too many queries unless we are absolutely necessary to do that. However, this is a good feature and a good trade-off to have. Sometimes we do need to use it. So use it with caution. That's all I can say. Action filters instead of quick filters. This is my absolute favorite. Let's look at this dashboard example. Let's go back to a monthly granularity. I have month as a continuous field. And on this dashboard, the idea is now I do not want to show this tabular data at all with all years and 24,000. That's not my idea. I just want to use a dashboard action. And the easy way of doing it is, as you click on it, there is this filter option. When you click on it and you enable it, what it does is, as I click on a particular month, say September 2024, I just get to see September 2024 worth of data. And my marks have gone down from this 20,000 to a mere 1,800. So it's a very small fraction of the data that you are exposing at the most granular level. And merely by using one quick click, I can enable that. If you're a bit nerded out like I am, you could go to Dashboard, Actions, and find that action has been written by Tableau as and when you clicked on this filter funnel shortcut, it created this behind the scenes. So let me rename this and call it filter details by month, right? And the action will be fired when I select something. On the target sheet would be my tabular details. And when I untick that or unselect, when I clear the selection, I want to exclude all values. Let's look at how this would change the whole thing. And this is my usual go-to when it comes to tabular data. I know Tableau is creating new capabilities and has extensions to show we all need tabular data at some point in our journey. But my goal is to starve my audience from getting the full blush of all the data at the very beginning. And now with that enabled, when I unselect when none of the marks are selected, this is the experience. My user lands on this page, looks at the trend, and now he sees, okay, November of 2024, before Christmas, and there is another seasonality in December around Christmas time when shopping's crazy. I want to look at what happened. I click on this month, and I now get to see all the details of my transactions. And behind the scenes, I'm using action filters, and that's what this point means. Moving along, LODs, level of details. We need it. It's a great feature to have, but LODs can be avoided. If we think about data design, and this goes back to using custom seq in the database. In the database, there is an ability to use, whenever that happens, to bring in a custom SQL into our data. I tend to stay away initially during exploration in your initial phases. As soon as you get a data, it may make sense to use level of detail, custom SQL in your data source. Write a quick select, start from, do a join, bring it in, explore the data. But once you want to take it to the next step, maybe move it to production, a good idea would be to partner with your data source team, with your DBAs, your data owners, or your data stewards, and say, look, this is the kind of table I need. Whatever is my custom SQL, take this, build me a highly indexed, optimized view in the backend. Same thing for level of details. They are helpful. Sometimes they are absolutely necessary. But if you think about it, level of detail is essentially creating a column in your data set at a different level of detail, at a different level of abstraction. So if you have daily data and you want to see the max of the month, you can create that in your data source as well, instead of having to create that in Tableau using LOD. And that's what this point is all about. So good planning would reduce the number of calculations and level of details in Tableau and shift that heavy data wrangling, the data shaping, to the back end, which is designed to do that. Did we talk about continuous date filters? Okay. Use Boolean or numeric filters. This is my absolute favorite. True, false, sets. These are inbuilt. Booleans are the true, false values, numeric filters. They are faster than a string type filter. And I do not want to explode into that through an example, but if you can hang on to this information, that would be a great help. Avoid too many marks on your viz. We talked about it. My tabular viz, as you saw, was a very detailed 20,000 marks sheet. We went from that to less than 2,000 marks by using filters. So I would stay away from using a detailed too many marks on the kind of viz. I would also stay away from using too many worksheets on my dashboard. It's very intense. Use staggered about it. Top added KPIs and bands, action filter to filter down to the granular metrics, to the realm of the visual rendering. So when we are designing the dashboard, and Anastasia talked about it today, how we have to use containers structured in a way that there is white space and what have you. But the point to be remembered here is we can go from that F pattern by putting the most important metrics, the big numbers, the big aggregated numbers, the KPIs, the key performance indicators in that F fashion, and then use that to drill into more details. And that's a good design to have this. If I would have a few, and I don't want to take too much time, but if I had KPIs, I could put it on the side and never have to use region, segment, let's do it for the sake of why not details. It's going to now spit out these filters, these quick filters, and that's not the best thing to do. So what would be my approach then? It would probably be build out, let's take region, and then let's throw in the sales dollars. And now we have sheet 2. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to probably use a horizontal container. All of this is happening. Anastasia's probably smiling, looking at me wrangle a demo. Sheet 4 is region. And now that's one of my KPIs. I can duplicate that. Instead of region, I'm going to replace it with segment. This is my segment sales. All right, go back to the dashboard, throw in the region sales, bring the segment sales, and now also throw in the tabular details. Let me get rid of the quick filters because I don't want it to clutter. So now I have my segment and the region. I do not need these filters here on the sheet. Segment gone. And for the sake of argument, let's take category, ship mode, everything away. And back into my dashboard, let me throw the tabular details in here, and the struggle is real. Another vertical container, take this in, tabular details, fantastic. Let's see what has happened. My regional sales, let's go to dashboard, action, filter details. Okay. Let's add these two as my sources, my segment and these two KPIs to the sheet. And then let's call filter details. Exclude all values from my tabular. And let's see what happens. So, okay. Clean this up a little bit more. Distribute evenly. All right. Entire view. Okay. Now, when I click on central, I don't need to use fit width. I do not need to use a quick filter because everything is in this detailed is for central region, and I can prove it. Insert region. When I click east, I see it only for east. So I'm going away from using quick filters into KPIs at the highest level. These could be made into a bar chart to make it more visual. And now, same concept. Let me sort it. Same thing for here, bar chart. So I'm going from a more tabular into a more visually appealing chart. And they work as they can be doubled down to use as filters. And that's all I wanted to say when it comes to this topic. How are we doing with time?
With time, we have about 4 minutes
Okay.
left. Yeah.
Okay, so let me brush through this. Number of worksheets, limit the number of worksheets. We talked about that. Don't make it too busy. Just focus on the key message. Use small size images. Okay, this is my favorite topic. SVGs and PNGs, image role. Look into these. This session is getting recorded, so playback at your pace, research. I will drop this into my LinkedIn along with the helper text. I will share it with the leaders of this group so that you get access to this deck. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask and or reach out to me over LinkedIn. I'm always listening and happy to help. What is the next piece? Calculations. We talked about it at a very high level. Numerical and Boolean calculations are much faster than string-based calculations. So a true-false is parameter equal to calculation. Done. That will return a true. Add that into your viz. Add that into your sheet. It's much faster than doing a string comparison of the customer name to the customer name in the parameter. LOD include, this part is important. Consider moving LODs to the database. We talked about it. LOD include is faster than exclude. I can prove it. I have done the tests, but we don't have the time for it. Just believe me. The number of unique dimensions in LODs matter. If you have an LOD with curly braces and then fixed, or take the example of fixed colon, and now you add 5 dimensions. It will be slower than fixed 1 dimension. That's the idea. Table calculations are faster than LODs, and it took me a while to believe this, but it is true. If you are a master of table calculations, use it. I know we tend to use LODs more often, but if you have all the dimensions and all the measures in that window, in your viz, in your chart, then you can get by using table calculations more often than not. Min and max are faster than average. Case statements are faster than nested if. Case is a function. If is also a function. If you want to compare strings, a nested if is slower than a case statement. Unless you need timestamp, use date. So there is a date time data type. If you're not using the time part of that field, then right click and change that field to be a date type and not a date time field. Nested calculations, avoid if you can. Sometimes we have to use it. Row level calculations involving strings, parameters, avoid it. Blends, avoid, we talked about it. All right, so once you're ready to publish, this is something I would absolutely suggest you do, which is the workbook optimizer. Under the server menu, there is this run, and I can find it, run optimizer. This is something we overlook. And what this is saying is we have used data sources and unused fields, exactly what I was trying to get to. What do? I go in here, I remove the unused data source, and in the data source that I'm using, I click over here and say, hide all unused fields. Fantastic. Let's go back. Server. Run optimizer. And at least that has parameters contain 2 fields not being used. I know what those are, but at least now the complaints reducing. I don't need these parameters, so I'll probably delete them. And those are the Superstore data sources. And then go back to server, run optimizer, and I believe no more complaints. There you go. A green tick. That's step 1. And before you publish, also try the performance recorder. Yeah. Help. Settings and performance. And I can't find it. Start performance recording. There you go. Once you do this, play around with your dashboard. I can for sure mention that if I do hide it, it's going to be a faster performing. And then click on this, bring back the monthly, and then stop the performance, help, settings and performance, stop performance recording. What Tableau is going to do is going to spit out Twibix report of how your Tableau workbook is performing based on the actions you have taken. And then you can look at which components took the longest to perform. I find it very in diagnosing my own work. Rendering took a lot of time, and I'm not surprised because we have a table which is highly granular. I click on it, it's going to tell me which sheet that was. Anyhow, in the interest of time, I would like to hand it back to our lovely hosts and open the floor for questioning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ojo. That was like amazing. I think we have about two questions. Israel, we just asked them. I think you might have touched on them, but yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you, Balaham. So we have here from Basu. The first one is from a performance POV. Is blending better or worse versus relationships? Logical.
Yeah, I think I tried to cover it, but blending is an absolute performance killer. And why would you use blending? If you have relationships, just bring it in and then tie it together as a relationship. That's my strong, very strong, absolutely mandatory recommendation.
All right. Thank you so much. And we also have a second one from still from Basu. As a follow-up question, what is best in terms of performance, physical joints, relationships, or blends?
So the best is relationships because it does culling. It uses the hyperengine, the capabilities of hyperengine shines. So at the best, the very top is relationship, logical relationships. Then comes the join. In joining, you have to absolutely bring it into the physical layer and join. So inner joins are the best, and then comes the outer joins, and then the full outer joins are probably as bad as blends. But blending is at the very bottom. I wouldn't even touch it with a 10,000 feet rope.
All right, thank you. I think that's all. Yeah, so coming to the end, Kenny, if you want to share your screen, so we just finish the slides and finish from there. Yeah, so far we had Anna talk about dashboard design and efficient container usage in Tableau. That was like an amazing session. And then we had Ojo talk about Tableau performance best practices. That was also a really, really insightful section. Next slide, Kenny. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending. See you in October for our next event. Be a part of the community by following Lagos TUG on X, formerly known as Twitter, and subscribing to the YouTube channel so that you can get recording of this video. And then you can watch it over and even get more familiar with the topics that were discussed. Join our spaces on X every third Saturday of the month. Now it's Friday, like last Friday, to discuss Tableau and get ready for the next event. And by scanning the QR code, you can follow and join the channel. So be sure to join us to enhance your skills, to collaborate, and be a part of a vibrant and dynamic group. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Anna. Thank you, Ojo. This was like really amazing. And it was really lovely to have you. So see you. Bye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.